But so the storytelling, like, it becomes about every little detail. The earring, the glove, the hosiery, the toenail color. You know, and it's like you don't think people notice, but then there's all the backstage photographers taking pictures of all of those things. So it's just got to be a super complete. The music is huge. I mean, sitting in a show, it's one of the most, when you're there as an editor and a buyer, it can make a show completely painful, or it can make it totally amazing. So it's such an important thing, and it's like, there's nothing drives me more crazy than when a like newer designer will just hire like a fashion DJ to come in and do like bad electronic music. And it just ruins like what could be a really good collection because you're listening to some crappy house, you know? And it's just like, with some like soul singer singing on top of it, and you just want to kill yourself, you know? And so it's such a big, and so, I mean, as a stylist, I learned from some of the best when I was producing that they all get involved in the music. They're involved in set, they're involved in music. I mean, they don't overpower the designer about it, but they help build it. And they help edit it and take care of it because it's so important. Because the other great thing about runway shows is that when you're a stylist and you're an editor, we also know what we're looking for. So we know more about what the editor sitting in the front row is concerned with than the designer does. Sometimes, most of the time. Some designers get it, but most of them don't. And that's another huge value we bring to the table and why we're able to help get reviews better. Like when it's a really good stylist, they can help you get better reviews because they're the editors sitting in the seat on other shows. So we have to watch, you know, we know what we're looking for. And we know what also stands out and looks messy. You know, I have one of the techniques I use is once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, and 3 times is a philosophy. So, and I learned that when I first started producing from this guy, Bill Mullen, who's like genius. He's genius with all that stuff. And Joe McKenna uses it, and like as I started talking, you know, some other stylists, like a lot of the top people use it. And do you guys want me to say it again? Okay. It's once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, and the 3rd time is a philosophy. So when you're styling a show and you send out one hat, it just looks like that model like wore her own hat out in the show. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it, like it's an accident. But if you have 2 hats, it starts to, you know, it's a coincidence. But when you do 3 or more hats, then the audience gets it as a philosophy. And so it becomes part of the story. So you can't, like sometimes when I'm designing accessories, like we'll only have one of something available, I usually won't use it unless I can send it out in multiple exits, so it goes out at least 3 times. It's so important that. Because it's part of because otherwise, you have to, it's repetition. It's repetition in shows, but in a new way every time. How do you say that? It's almost like recursion or reciprocate, it's not, I think it's like recursion. So it's like, you're saying the same thing over and over again in a different way in the show. And then you have whatever climax that you have, whether it's like day wear into evening or, you know, one situation into another situation. That's another way to do it. It's like, oh, well, she starts out, you know, at brunch and ends at cocktails. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm trying to think of what we did for, like, with Victoria. When I work with Victoria, like, I like to mix the evening gowns in with their sections. Like, we do hers super fabric-based. So we do them in groups. And there's almost always, I'm trying to think. So we do it in groups of like 4 and 5, and they usually have a theme there's an overall theme and story of the collection, and then we'll have like sections that are themed based on like structures and fabrics and kind of like a little bit more esoteric like design kind of things. And I like mixing in the gowns and that. I mean, we always have like maybe a gown or an over the top like beautifully crafted like showpiece that only gets like a couple of them made per season at the end. But it's nice to kind of mix in the evening gowns, and I don't think it necessarily has, you just have to come up with some sort of consistent story in your head for how the show goes. Is that resonating? Okay, because I know it's a little, again, it's like kind of a little esoteric, but if you look at, I'm trying to think of other shows that you could look at. Louis Vuitton's a really good one to look at how they do their storytelling arches. Balenciaga's great. Lanvin's pretty good too, because I like that he does like, he'll throw a whole passage of evening gowns into the middle, and it'll totally work. And then he'll end on the most beautiful little overly embroidered, incredible hand pieces. You know, so it's just about like what woman you're creating, what story, what situation.